Rahubat, Aknoon. Greetings and welcome. Thank you for joining me once again. So today I am reading an actual facts book, and this is actual facts book series number 3, Ham's Seed. Okay, so we're going to learn the genealogy line. Thank you for joining me. Please take the time to subscribe, like, and share all the formalities. And they have a hype button. Hype me up, okay? Without further ado, let's sit back and listen to me read Actual Facts, Ham Seed, series number 3, sent down for you Sabaeans. I really hope you like this new format because it becomes a read along, so that if I mispronunciate any words, which I ask for forgiveness in advance, know that I am trying and we are all learning together. So let's get started and learn about Ham's seed. Okay? Introduction to you all. 9 reasons to be a Sabaean and not them. Okay? Number 1, the inevitable fact. Everyone seeks truths, facts, and confirmations. No one can really endure on blind faith or hopes. The stress and cares of life without facts about something, like not knowing the exact phone number of an important phone call or the address of a place you must be at a certain time. To not have facts, to feel pain, fear, danger, yet not know why or where to go to have it taken care of. That's blind faith, not a life to death that can ultimately be proven. Atheists cannot prove there is no God or gods, just as religious people cannot prove that their God or gods exist by faith and belief alone. And so they create other titles such as pantheist or pragmatist. Facts are unavoidable. Even if we only choose to have facts in our own existence, what is to be decided is what evidence we think is pertinent. How are we going to interpret the evidence, and who finds it? And will they really accept the facts over their blind faith? Ask yourself, who is your mother? She comes to mind because you know who she is. Now, who is your creator? God, Lord, Allah, Rab, Jah, or Yahweh? You don't get an exact one. You don't get an exact. One is fact and the other is fiction until confirmed. The use and misuse of sciences. There are no limitations in finding facts when you compare religion to the scientific method of prove it. The process defined by that which is measurable and repeatable. It speaks to issues and their ultimate origin, as well as people, places, and things. Where did they come from? How long ago? How did they come about? Genetics, not control of other moralities or lives. For such answers, science depends on what was recorded and found, read, and confirmed to be the way people really lived, facts, not fiction. Whereas religious beliefs can't be found or confirmed, just what men wrote down and claimed as coming from an unproved spirit God. They make the claims that their God, Lord, knows about the smallest details of our lives, yet doesn't and will not, nor has stopped all the sickness, evils, wars, killings, destruction of nature, and even their own human bodies, minds, and birth defects. He doesn't help or prevent. The problems, creation versus evolution. The first fact is you, yourself, your parents, their parents, and so on. Your reading this confirms your existence. The next step back is, from where did you come? Your parents. Who came from theirs? That's how it's done with plants, animals, humans, and the universe. Nothing new. Even if a test tube is used, it still has the same root seeds for reproduction. Where did it start? Why must it have to have one only to support your belief in a spook god at one point in time saying be or let there be this person? What is most overlooked is even then in their religious books, they say this god used dust or mud or clay of the ground, which always has some form of life in it, be it dry sand or moist soil. Life existed in when their god used it to shape, fashion, mold, make, form, and create the first flesh and blood being. So the seed of life was there, or with that God who they claim is life. And if you live for more than one moment, you live or are living at that time. So when did you start living to be alive? They even give their God a gender. They say he and a male child, a son, and even a male ghost or spirit called an angel. A gender meaning a sex, a male gender, a seed, or XY chromosome and sperm, DNA, RNA. That is all they claim, and this is the problem with the instant creation from nothing. It can't be confirmed, and nor does their holy books make that claim as for reproduction. This is proven as for evolving or evolution, not how many have proclaimed, yet how it is you evolved from your parents and who evolved from their parents. Each time there is a change. This evolutionary explanation of life by birth does not make God or gods unnecessary. And anyone can see life develops gradually, changing from person to person, and much change over a great period of time. Of course, there is intelligence involved by one designer who alone from nothing provided that one ingredient for life and set into motion by saying to it, exist. Yet, think of who was talking and why even speak at all. If there were no other beings to listen. Older, wiser living beings birthed, created, grew, made, and fashioned our level of life. Just as if a pure African moves to Europe, it is now known his genes are older and stronger. That's a confirmed fact. That's a fact confirmed, If he is the very first and he takes a European or Caucasian female and impregnates her with his sperm, the child born would be a new creation, a first. His father would be his creator. His mother would also be his creator. And Pa Kab Ta'a, the planet Earth, in which he planted his seed to mix with her ovum. Now, the other way around, if an African woman who holds the mitochondrial DNA, a genealogy is born, a line of descendants from her onward whereas the seed of the African male ended at conception because he cannot pass on mitochondrial DNA like the female. Yet in both cases, it was a new creation, created from them. Then, from the African woman seed, because of the mitochondrial DNA, the gene proven to be transferred from the mother only. This is evolution. Genetically, if beings came to us from older worlds with stronger genes and bred us, they would be our gods. And if it was a female, she would be our mother and goddess. That is how it's done. The devil and evil. Who has the most to profit from a good God creating you and all things more than a devil or devils? It gives him a purpose. It brings him into existence as well. For why would you need good if there was no evil? Why need a God if there was no devil? So, who do you think created religion and its religious laws of do, don't do? Not the creation, and certainly not the creators, the ones who has the most to gain by weaker being violating these do and do not do laws. Of course, that created a place for enforcers of these laws, then subjects, and records of what to do and not to do, that being written by those enforcers. You get your so-called holy books by whatever title to enforce their laws and stay in control. Real do and do nots should only be based on what is harmful in any way to anything, your health, life, or nature, which you need. Don't hurt yourself or others. That's law. The Bible, Quran, and God's story. On first reading the opening words of the Old Testament in Hebrew as Tanakh, Torah, or the English translation, which birthed the New Testament, or many other agnostic texts of Nag Hammadi, scrolls found in Egypt in 1945 AD, or the Dead Sea Scrolls of the Qumran caves found outside of Jerusalem in 1947. AD. The birth of the Quran of the Muslims Islamic religion in 610 to 632 AD in Arabia. And the religions, you will see that each bases their belief in a divine. In this first book of Genesis, in what they call the Bible, this first chapter seems to assume the existence of an Elohim, or Yahweh, or God, Dios, or Allah, Rab. Genesis, however, was really written long after what the first verse claims at a point of time in history. They claim a Hebrew man of the Levite tribe of Israel wrote it, which has not been proven to date. However, the very words, in the beginning God, is not saying in the beginning I as the first and only God. It's about a God, not by this God. Just as the first verse of St. John in the New Testament stating, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. It does not say, I am the God, the first and only God, and the Word was with me. Again, it's by a God. The Quran reads, in the name of your Rob who created. It doesn't say, read in the name of me, Allah, who created. It's about Allah and not by Allah. It was written by mortal men, human beings, about a God, not by a God, about human beings. Just as many children world over now believe that Santa Claus was a real person, they call him Kris Kringle. Note, Chris equals Christ, Saint Nick equals saint, holy. They have how he dresses, how he looks, how he has helpers, his words, ho, ho, ho. How he flies through the skies with flying reindeers, how he gives gifts and makes people happy. How he lives way up north at the North Pole, and on and on. People spend their hard-earned money on gifts. Now, is not all this the same exact story created in the Bible or Quran about their God or angels' rewards? He knows if you are asleep. He knows if you're awake. He knows if you're bad or good. Is that not the same? And people all over wait for Christmas? Who was born on Christmas? They have music, feasts, rituals, symbols, and that's not real. It's all fake. He really doesn't and never existed, a make-believe. That is the very same thing with the Bible stories of a God, the places, the miraculous events, signs, and symbols. You think about it. Now, he, Santa Claus, is supposed to be good, like God. Yet, then they created stories of Frankenstein, a man-made man, made of human parts, came alive and became evil and killed. Lest you not forget, when I said the name, you saw his image as if he is real. So many others as well, I could say, yet you think them, and do you see how it works and worked? It's all faith and belief in what another person created in their mind, like the best fiction stories. There is no proof of these stories that religious people devote their lives. None. Yes, they found places mentioned in the Bible, and you can find the North Pole or Transylvania. Both are on the map. Okay, here's a map of the North Pole. Okay, and this is a map of Transylvania. Do you recognize any of those names on the map? Okay. This does not mean Santa Claus and Frankenstein are/were real. And it doesn't matter how many people claim they believe in Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster until they uncover the facts, proof that they do exist. And yet, in Egypt, facts, records, bones, tombs, dates, times, places, and real people confirmed. They have not done that with monotheistic, I don't know if I pronounced that right, religions of Mosesism, Jesusism, or Mohammedism, which all three should be called Abrahamism. For each claim him, and in their Quran 16 verse 123, as their founder, yet he has not been proven to ever have existed. No facts, confirmations, findings, none, not one of him. None of them have proven their creation story, their angel story, their God story, their life after death story, and their heaven story. Yet their hell story is true. We have it right here on earth. With all the pain and suffering around us, fiction has become real to those that need anything to believe. However, facts will always come out of the lies or fabrications, religion. The name of a religion or God does not make it real. For people who claim names today like Jews, Christians, Muslims, or Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and there are many subdivisions, sects, and denominations, the fact that there are millions who believe the fictions of their holy books, the fictions of the beings or people in their own stories, the fact that there is a place called Jerusalem or the Vatican in Rome or Mecca in Arabia. Yet none of the above mentions or confirms the facts needed. It's only beliefs and no reason given in proof or rebuttal of their God's existence. A God that each claims is partial in their rituals with themselves as the chosen ones, and that their God would not protect other children of the world unless they all convert to their racist religious beliefs. That he is responsible for all beings born amongst the Hindus, Indian subrace, or Buddhist Asian subrace, or Islamic Arab hybrids, and so on. Is he not the giver of all life to all people, regardless of race, according to their religious beliefs? Are we to believe that when each time this so-called Hebrew race of Jews or Israelites, the sub-race of Caucasian people, could not live safe or find food or fear death in the land of Canaan, where their God put them, that their God, Yahweh, Elohim, sent them to Africa, to the Africans? Egypt is in Africa and was ruled originally by Africans, who many Caucasians have taught their cursed to be black with nappy hair, big lips, with large genitals, and big butts. All this they claim while their God sends them to safety amongst Africans repeatedly. The personification of God, angels, and spirits. Many religions claim to worship their God in spirit, Torah, Genesis 1 verse 2, Mosaism, John 4 verses 24, Jesusism, or as an unseen spirit, Quran 2 verse 3, John 1 verse 18, that God is not a human being. Numbers 23 verse 19, Hosea 11 verse 9, that angels have wings. Isaiah 6 verse 2, Ezekiel 1 verse 11, and are also Holy Ghost. Luke 1 verse 35, Quran 16 verses 102 to 103, or spirits yet human beings. 1 Timothy 2 verses 5, Genesis 3 verses 22, in Exodus 7 verse 1. Because we as human beings know we have all kinds of weaknesses and needs from outside sources. We need to clean ourselves inside as well as outside. We start off as babies, weak and dependent. As we age, we lose our sight, our hearing, and receive all other kinds of sickness. We need to eat, we need to drink water, and we have other needs. We go crazy or lose our minds. We are selfish and greedy. Now, how can their God be a human being and still be all-powerful? They use the Spirit of God who comes into a body of flesh as the Word made flesh, St. John 1 verse 14, used by the Christians in the New Testament, or the angel comes as a complete well-made man in the Muslims' Quran chapter 19 verse 17, Psalms 18 verses 10 through 11. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters by the Hebrews Torah, Genesis 1 verse 2. In each holy book, a spirit being came down to earth. Also in the Torah, God or Lord came to Maqedah, planet Earth, with two angels to Abraham and ate food, flesh. In fact, Genesis chapter 18. They ate meat of animals and so many others in human form. They used doves, Mark 1 verse 10, ass, calves, mules, strange flying animals to take them to heaven. Quran 17 verse 1, unicorns. Job 39 verse 10, dragons. Revelations 13, talking snakes. Genesis 3 verse 1, fishmen. 1 Samuel 5 verse 2 through 7, goat men. Leviticus 17 verse 7. So we see they believe that angels come in human form, Quran 17 verse 85, and Daniel's 8 verses 15 through 16, Revelations 22 verses 8 through 9, in spiritual birds, human fish, giants, Genesis 6 through 4. Genesis 6 verses 4. You can read this in their holy scriptures and books they use to explain their religions. Yet, they will look at Egypt and say, we are pagans, because they claim we Egyptians of old worship animals. Who did Moses and his people worship? A brass serpent. Numbers 21 verses 8 through 9 and John chapter 3 verses 14. Thus their own God trusted Egypt as a place of safety to live and stay for 430 years. Genesis 46 verses 3, Exodus 12 verses 40 through 41, and also sent to the Christians' own God in flesh, Jesus, Matthew 2 verses 13 through 15, to Egypt to be safe. This also is to be found in their holy books, Exodus 12 verses 40 through 41. Think, their God, Allah, Yahweh, Elohim, Ra, made a promise with their father, Abraham, to give him a land flowing with milk and honey. Exodus 3 verse 8, chapter 3 verse 17, chapter 33 verse 3, Leviticus 20 verses 24, Genesis 12 verses 1 and 7, or Genesis 7. No, Genesis chapter 12, 1 verse 1 and verse 7. Then Genesis 12, Then Genesis 12, verse 10, and Quran on Jesus, Isa, return. Quran 43, verse 61, to look over them, protect them, a safe place. Note. Now note, this is their all-knowing God. But he did not know that the land of Canaan would have a famine. In Genesis 42, verses 3 through 5, drought, and force the Israelites to have to move or die. He could not see that far when he made the promise to Abraham in Genesis 17, verse 8. Then, out of all places on the planet Earth, why does their God think they would be safe in pagan Egypt? Why Egypt? Even in their books at all, if we were to search backward, confused pagans. He passed through Europe to go to Egypt. Look at map of his route. This right here is Egypt, okay, and this is the map, the route that they're saying that he took. Okay, Abraham's journey to Egypt, Jacob's flight, Elizabeth brings Rebecca to Isaac, appropriate location. Okay, so you can pause this and really look at it. After all of this is, I'm reading something for you to decide for yourself. Use your own thinking. Only you know what's going on in your head. Okay? Let us continue. Okay, the Nubian nation. The Nubian Islamic Hebrews, Wabians, Sabaeans of Wusabat, the hereafter doctrine. Pamunbab Yanun, the master teacher's actual facts 33. Okay, so this is the actual fact part. Kamatu Muntat Hamseed, 41 times 9 equals 369. Please forgive any mispronunciations. We are learning this together. Okay. Aniya Mamara Masba'u Munwatu Mwasar. My beloved Sabaean Nubian family, would you like to know who and what you are and from where? Musbatu, Manwatu, Sabaeans, Nubians come. So we have Genesis 10, verses 6 through 19. Egypt equals black. Kemet, K-M-T, Kemet. I'm so glad I'm doing this way because I would have never been able to say what it looks like. You can see this tree for yourself, okay? So, Kaf Re, you have Egyptian Kemet here, and then Hebrew Ka'am, and in Arabic you have Ham, in English you have Ham. So this is Ham's sons, okay? Kush. What names do we all know regularly? But you can see it here. All of these names here: Cush, Ethiopia, Chad, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Somalia, Misr, Egypt, Nubia, Sudan, Kenya, Uganda, Put, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Canaan, Sidon, Heth. Oh, I should be easier to read it this way. Sidon, which is Zidon, Hittites, Jebusites, Jerusalem, Amorites, Gergasites, Hivites, Archites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zamarites, and Hamathites. Down here you have the Ishmaelites, Arab mix, and you have the Edomites, Asiatic mix, and the Israelite mix. This is a lot. Decide for yourself, research for yourself, and come to the conclusion for yourself. Use your own sound right reasoning. I am reading a book, okay? It's from a book. Let's continue. They all mix their seed with the cursed seed of the Pamukanu Canaanites. Senegalese Egyptologist Cheikh, is that Cheikh? Check this word. Anta Diop's melanin diagnosis test conducted on Mukhmatu Egyptian mummies in the Museum of Man in Paris, France, revealed that these remains were of Nagar Nadu Negroid people. The mummies that were used were from the Mariette excavation in Saqqara, Egypt, discovered November 12th in 1851 AD. Samples of the skin from the mummies were used to determine the Sal'al race of these mummies. The Kashar skin has three main layers: dermis, epidermis, and hypodermis of subcutaneous tissue. So you see the epidermis layer, the dermis, and the subcutaneous layer. Whew, I'm getting so educated here. Layers of skin present an absence of melanin. In the skin of those of the Caucasoid Sal'al Caucasoid race, there is a lesser amount of melanin present. Yet, in the skin of Nagar Nadu Negroids, it is present in all layers just as it is today. Also, that the melanin in their Kashar skin and the Damam blood group is shared with Mukhmanu blacks of today, thereby validating Resa Ka'u Africans as a Makrat al-Muzwalu global people. All Musba'u Sabaeans should read his Misfarat books. The method for determining the level of melanin in the skin of Mukhwanu human beings is officially called the melanin dosage test objective. Okay, it's official. From dark to light, you have melanocyte. Melanin is made in the melanocyte people with darker skin, or those who live in regions with greater sunlight exposure have more active melanocytes. Now, the melanosomes in lighter skin release far fewer melanin granule. Okay, and then you have light. Okay, the different names. Move it up a little bit. Melanosomes. I'm doing my best. And you can see it for yourself in case I mispronounced anything. Dendrites and melanocytes. Okay, how fun. Seems to be a big topic nowadays because the sun is coming closer. We are in the sun cycle after all. We are no longer in the moon cycle. So We have 6,000 years of this lovely moon cycle. Come closer. I welcome you. Let's continue. Layers of skin, melanocyte and melanosomes. In the above diagram, you see less melanin in the upper layers of the dermis in lighter Kushar skin and in pale skin. There is none in the upper layers. The melanin from the dermis of the Muhammadu Egyptians' royal mummies were compared to the dermis of Africans. After many attempts, Dr. Diop gained his doctrine from the University of Paris in 1960 AD from this comparison and discovery, with his initial attempt being in 1951 AD. Okay, so you have dark to light, the surface, the upper, what does that say, keratinocytes, and then you have the melanosomes, basals, and the keratinocyte, and the melanocytes. Yeah, that word. Layers of skin present an absence of melanin. This method is used by forensic experts today to determine the Salal race of victims who have been burned too badly to be recognized. Yet recognition was not given to this great Muzwal man. Many scientists claim that the embalming process would damage the Kaleat cells taken from these mummies. The fact is, melanin lasts zamutat years and can only be destroyed by laser light or acid that causes a suppression of the enzyme that produces melanin. And then it only slows down the production of the melanin. The enzyme in tyrosine that helps produce melanin and only affects their outer Kale cells or layer of jasad, flesh. Netter tile is pre-dynastic, being found by British Egyptologist W.M. Flinders Petrie in 1853 to 1942 in the early temple at Abydos underneath the dynastic temple. The figure is on a green glazed faience. Petrie, famously known as the father of prehistory, Petrie excavations at Nagada and Balas in Upper Egypt nearly 100 years ago unearthed nearly 2,200 ancient graves. He wrote over 1,000 books, articles, and reviews reporting on his excavations and finds. Petrie, The Making of Egypt in 1935, translation, line 1, Het-U, temples, line 2, Seth, of the god Seth, Tekshitu, Thoth and Hermes, line 3, Net Anu, of the cities of the Anu peoples, line 4, Terra Neter, the devoted one to God, as name and titles. Okay, so is this a book, name of a book that you can check out yourself? Let's verify all of this. Just don't stop here. Keep going. Because only you can make a better you. Only you can make a more knowledgeable you by what I'm doing. pre-dynastic Anu people. On page 68, the Anu people, besides these types belonging to the north and east, there is the aboriginal race of the Anu or Anu people, written with 3 pillars, who became a part of the historic inhabitants. The subject ramifies too doubtfully if we include all single pillar names, but looking for the Anu written with the 3 pillars, we find that they occupied southern Egypt and Nubia, and the name is also applied in Sinai and Libya. As to the southern Egyptians, we have the most essential document, a portrait of a chief terranetter, roughly modeled in relief in green glazed furnace, found, I hope that's correct, faience, found in the early temple at Abydos. Preceding his name, his address is given on this earliest of visiting cards. Palace of the Anu in Hermen City, Terranetter. Hermen was the name of the god of Tufinium, lands I don't know, a dictionary maybe, I don't know, 544, this right here. 13 miles south of Luxor, Iranet, opposite to it, was the place of Anu of the south, Anu Minti. The next place in the south is Anuti, Gebelium, and beyond that, Anutisini, Isne, forgive me. The chief peculiarity of the figure is the droop of the chin. This is caused by a slanting jaw with short ramus. The same type of jaw is seen in the Ivory King from Abydos, and moreover the Scorpion King who preceded Narmer. So the Scorpion King was not just a movie. These figures are then the precious portraits remaining of the native pre-Menite kings of the south, and they are of a type of certainly different from the dynastic type of the square-jawed Narmer, Mina, and his followers. Get situated, excuse me. The difference of the slope of jaws in the Anu people was illustrated by our researchers in the cemetery at Tarkhan. In dealing with the remains, the jaws were all photographed in position, and they show 2 groups of the slope of the lower edge as 20 and 28 to the horizontal. Now we can go a step further on the big mace head of the Scorpion King. There are carved the standard figured. These emblems of Min and Set with Rek height plovers hanging from them, the Rek Hitu people, however, were the special care of the dynastic race, protected by Aha and by Thetu. They were an organized rank ruled by a mayor in the fifth and 6th dynasty. The Scorpion King was then an enemy of the dynastic falcon Horus. And all that's from a book, now remember. As we find the Anu strong in the south, but the Rek Haitu strong in the north, It seems that the Rekhaitu came in with the dynastic invasion, entering the Nile Valley at Koptos. Those who went south were attacked by the Anu, and those going north founded a base at Heliopolis, Syro-Egypt too. Okay, now that, just as a reminder, that was from this scientist, this archaeologist, Petre, and the book he wrote, The Making of Egypt, in 1939. So all of that I just read, and it came from page 68 if you want to verify and check it out. All of this right here, okay? So let's continue on with Pa Nabab speaking. With Yanun speaking. The Muqma'u Egyptians have the same genetics and use the same linguistics, as well as shared Hazhab culture and the details of ritual dresses like animal tails, skins, masks, and even grass aprons are a part of African customs. Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop states that a range of Mushk'ahasu persons, peoples, and phenotypes under the word Negroid includes those with a wide range of physiques and traits, such as light brown Kashar skin and aquiline noses, jet black skin, and frizzy or fuzzy wabar hair, which is well within the varied range of peoples native to the Nilotic region. I have taken on a big thing, haven't I? Yes, and I'm enjoying it. Let's continue. Even though the ancient Muqma'u Egyptians, Kemetians, and Tamarians absorbed foreign Migna'at genes at different times in history, they are still African. The Hyksos, who even ruled Maqedah Egypt during the 12th dynasty, mixed in with the Muqma'u Egyptians. However, mixing in does not change the basis of a Sal'al race. It is the same as the black race or the black Hamite or Nagar Nad Sal'al Negroid race today, which has 9 different variations with key distinguishing traits intact. All came from Homo habilis and Homo naledi. In addition, the Damam blood type of modern Muqma'u Egyptians was from the same B group as the population of Western Africa on the Atlantic seaboard, and was not the A group, which was of the Murapu Sal'al European race prior to any race mixing. Dr. Diop argues the word KMT means the Negros literally. It is accordingly written with a Saf'afat hieroglyph representing a piece of wood charred at the end, not what has been misinterpreted as crocodile scales. So here's a hieroglyph, Kemet. Okay, so we have Kemet from objective, Kemet black. It therefore means strictly Negroid. Nagar Nad-U Negroids or at the very least refers to Manu, black people. Now this is hieroglyphs for Egypt. We are educating ourselves, are we not? We are having a better understanding of things. Let's continue. The term is a collective noun which described the whole people of ancient Egypt from the first dynasty with Narmer to Pepi II, a time period that is also referred to as Pharaonic Egypt Tamaray. In Dr. Diop's view, the cultural unity of Maqedah Egypt with the rest of Africa through a study of circumcisions and totemism gives detailed information showing Hazhab al-Akhud lay cultural unity of Maqedah Egypt and the rest of Africa. European, Greek, and Roman authors exclusively referred to early Latin eyewitnesses' description of ancient Ma'u Egyptians as black-skinned with woolly wabar hair. You can also determine the nationality of a Sal'al race from their wabar, woolly hair, Sa'ar hair, or what is like Fa'ar, fur. The hair of Manbar Mu'an'akhu mummies also determines their Tasha'ub al-Lay nationality. There is an interesting point about hair. In fact, every Mutash'ab nation has a genetic trait that makes them unique, and that includes wabar, hair. To many, the wabar hair of the mummies appear to be straight, like the Sa'ar hair of those of the Too many of the wabar hair of the mummies appear to be straight, like the Sa'ar hair of those of the Kasnadu Sal'al Caucasoid race, or even the Nagal Nadu Sal'al Mongoloid race, which appears straight yet is actually hollow. The thickness of the wabar, kinky hair, actually is also unique to each Sa'al race. Initially, when a Mukrad child is born, they have very soft Sa'al hair, which can be soft as Fa'ar, fur. In the child of the Kasnadu Sal'al Caucasoid race, the child's Sa'ar hair or Fa'ar fur remains the same. It doesn't get much thicker and thins out or disappears in old age. In the Mukrad child of the Nagal Nadu Mongoloid, the hair remains hollow and thins in old age. In the Mukrad child of the Nagar Nadu Negroid, the hair starts out as soft, curly, or straight like fur, and as the Mukrad child grows and matures, the wabar, kinky hair, becomes stronger and more nappy, and becomes soft and thin again with age. Yet, not to the point of where it is straight and changes its genetic structure from one Sal'al race to that of another. For those of us who used to hot comb our hair, mu'ash female or mu'ash male, if Me'e waters touches it, or a day with a little too much humidity, your wabar hair would curl, or number 9, right back to its original nappy state. Now today, with the help of new hair products and reversion spray, this can be controlled without perming the hair. Yet because of the highly porosity of Manu Wabar, black hair, moisture is needed. The Sa'ar hair of a Caucasoid or Nadu Mongoloid never turns to this state from Me'e waters and becomes weighted down by the Me'e waters and never gets any fuller. In fact, Caucasoids have the opposite type of hair and do not need moisture as black hair and have to use products to get fuller hair or add body, such as mousse. Wabar hair literally will stand up on its own when combed out without the help of chemicals. So you can see a scientific with pores and epidermis and dermis and sweat glands and the fat, oil glands, nerves, blood vessels, hair follicles, the hair. Make sure that we have the whole picture. Yeah, the hair. Okay, now this is cross-section of a hair follicle. Okay, this is all science-based, facts, research, all proven. Such products as mousse were created to add more volume to fur to make it appear fuller and smoother, and can add a barak, shine or sheen. Yet because of the thin hair or flank hair, washing very often is needed to prevent the hair from being weighed down from oil, referred to as the greases, and product buildup. The chemicals in many of these hair products, unless they are organic, are toxic to the human katat body. The hair follicle is composed of outermost and innermost, includes the number 1 connective tissue sheath, number 2 outer root sheath, number 3 inner root sheath, number 4 cuticle, number 5 hair shaft cortex, and number 6 hair shaft medulla. Okay, these are all pictures of hair follicles. Okay, hair medulla, African hair cuticles, hair cortex. With all of this information, we can now move to address the wabar hair of mummies. When our Kadem Muslafu, ancient ancestors, were disturbed from their Maqbarat tombs to be put on display in museums, a Tadrash question comes to Akal mind. What Sal'al race were these ancient originators of all civilization? It is assumed they are Semitic, people or people of the Middle East, or even Mediterranean. Currently, you have Muqma'u Egyptians, people who Egyptian people and people living in North Africa classified as Mukasu, Caucasians. In fact, there is a man named Mustafa Hefni from Maqedah, Egypt, who sued the United States because they stamped Masu, Caucasians, on his passport, when according to his skin or melanin content, he is definitely black, a negroid with nappy hair, the main trait that is unique to the Nagar Nadu Salal negroid race. Mr. Hefni filed against the federal government for classifying a man's race based on his birthplace, and they ignored his Kashar skin color and Wabar kinky hair, and he is still fighting today. This is him then when he started the suit, and this is him now. He got a little afro. This article was taken from the Jet magazine, dated from June 23rd in 1997 AD. A dark-skinned Egyptian immigrant recently filed a suit in Detroit to get the federal government to change his racial classification from white to black. The man, Mustafa Hefni, 46, said his classification is based solely on his country of origin, and it has kept him from seeking jobs, grants, scholarships, and loans as a member of a minority group. Hefni said although he's from Egypt, his ancestry is from the ancient Black Kingdom of Nubia, now a part of modern Egypt and Sudan. His suit targets the management and budget, which define blacks as having origins with the black racial group of Africa, and whites as having origins from white to black. The man, Mustafa Hefni, 46, said his classification is based solely on his country of origin. Hefni, a naturalized U.S. citizen, said his hair is kinkier, his complexion is darker, and his features are more African than blacks, such as Detroit Mayor Dennis Archer and retired General Colin Powell. I was born and raised in Africa, and they were not, he said, and yet they are classified as black, and I am classified as white. See those games? He's classified as white. Okay, let's continue. Mr. Mustafa Hefni is around 69 years old at the time of this book being written, and is still fighting for his status to be known as Mukhmanu, black. Yet he is considered Mukasu, Caucasian, white, and it has interfered with him being able to stay employed. If he stated he was black, why hide the true identity of the original people of Maqedah, Egypt, the origin of modern civilization, as the black, brown, Munmatu, Nubian people they are? Why does the hair on the head of the Egyptian mummies appear to be straight or flank hair? Because of the ointments applied, and over time causes matting. However, when you look at the hair under a microscope and analyze the hair strand itself, you will see the sawab, truth. The wabar, hair itself, is made up of protein called keratin. Keratin is made up of chains of amino acids. These amino acids are called polypeptides. So we have the African elliptic twisted, Caucasian elliptic, and Asian round. Right? Notice the difference in shapes of the follicles. When you look at the hair of a mummy, you may see what appears to be straight hair. However, black wabar hair is very versatile in its natural state. If you plait it, it takes on the shape of the plait or braid. If you roll it, it will hold its shape with natural body without the aid of mousse or hairspray. That's why Negroids should love natural hair. Yes. It has been said that the Mu'u Egyptians in fact wore wigs. Yes, some did, some did not. And it was not necessary, yet they were assumed to be all bald or having short hair. Yet there were styled wigs worn by the ruling class, as well as elaborate clothing and makeup as well. Adornment with Nafar beauty were some things in which the ruling class indulged, and invading tribes ruled Maqedah Egypt and emulated the original rulers' hairstyles and crowns. However, this is not to say African or black people do not have naturally long wabar hair. Look at modern day people. Look at modern day people today. Wigs, which are just as much an accessory as a scarf or beads today, and, as it was in ancient Wukutat times, although Muzwal-Tatu women have their hair flexibility. Women have hair flexibility with hair colors, hairstyles, and can be changed at a hamutat moment's notice. That is so interesting. This is a skull with the hair still attached. In fact, many statues of Mu'u Egyptians that appear to be wearing crowns actually appears to be hair. See Ramses? Okay, a negroid hair on a skull, the war crown with what appears to be hair as depicted on ancient statues. So are they saying all these little curls are hair? I don't know, but let's keep going. There are those who would say that ancient Mu'u Egyptians are considered Semitic, as if that is a separate ethnic group. Semitic relates to subfamily of the Afro-Asiatic language group, including Hebrew, Aramaic, and Amharic. Pertaining to people, it is said to be exclusively those called Semitic, referring to as Jewish, the Tat religion, not a race of people or nationality. Yet their definitions clearly say Afro-Asiatic. So how is it in Africa Negroid people are labeled as Caucasians or Semitic on documented paperwork? As Africans, they are Manu black as well. Why are Afro-Americans recognized as black with roots in race Africa? Why are people all over the planet with the prefix Afro recognized as being black with a direct root of the same tree being African, be it Afro-Brazilian, Afro-Peruvian, Afro-Latino, Afro-Asian, Afro-Italian, Afro-German, Afro-Arab, Afro-Iraqi, Afro-Iran, Afro-Turk, Afro-Spaniards, Afro-Mexicans, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Puerto Rican, Afro-Panamanian, and etc. So we have a whole, ooh, love her lovely headdress. Okay. The Afro world. Let us continue. All of these were not names or labels to separate the same race of people that they clearly are aware by saying Afro, this or that. Yet in the actual place of the roots of the tree, Africa, the people are called Caucasian or white. By whom? It truly makes no sense to call the people in the race land of their nativity white. And when these same people, according to them, migrate, are born elsewhere, America, Europe, or Asia, they are reminded they are African by being called Afro. In America, if you have one drop of black blood, you are considered black. One drop of black blood, you are considered black. Yet, in Arab countries, the Meroe, children of mixed parents, are considered what their father parent is, dark skin and all. They treat Tasha'ub al-Le nationality as a Sal'al race. In this case, Arab is a nationality where you are born, not a Sal'al race. Negroid, Mongoloid, Caucasoid are the three root races. Everything else are sub-races, mixtures of the three. Arab means mixed or mingled. Thus, biblically speaking, Ishmael was born of a Ma'u Egyptian, a black woman, and a Chaldean. Musfrasu, Persian man Abraham, producing a mixed, mingled offspring, and Arab. Yet, in South America, countries you are classified based on skin, lawan, color, and hair texture. This is not correct. For example, in Meroe, America, according to genetics, if you go back, say, 4 generations or 400 shamat years, most people are related. The fact that there were questions or uncertainties in race where many Muzwalu people were able to pass proves this, and now there are shows all that, the fact that there were questions and uncertainty in race where many Mazwalu people were able to pass proves this, and now there are shows all the time where Mazwalu people are discovering their grandparent was actually a light-skinned Mukhmanu, black, passing as Malbanu, white. A race mixing was new during the 50s here in America, and in some states was outlawed. Nowadays, as black people come in a range of lawanat colors and hair textures, it is more common and easier to identify, regardless as certain traits remain genetically. That would also reveal most Makasu Caucasians, excuse me, are not truly Caucasians. Through mixing, dominant Maqedah genes are just that, dominant. Recessive genes are not dominant, and when you mix a dominant with a mixed or recessive gene, the dominant one prevails. It is simply science of a Punnett square, a method to predict the possible outcome when mixing Maqedah genes. Maqedah science doesn't lie. You can change the texture of your hair, lightening your skin, yet you cannot alter your genetics to the point of changing your Salal race. The truth is literally under the Kashar skin and a molecular level with the Kaleat cells. Thus, great minds like Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop exposed the truth about who Ham's seed really was by examining the DNA. They shut it down, discredited his theories, hid the mummies for years, and tried to lighten the skin when they were rediscovered Shamutat years later. The basis for many Zam'at opinions are based upon the fact that the hair of mummies appears straight. Well, if you leave anyone's hair unattended for months, let alone thousands of Shamutat years, your hair will mat. A braided hair mummy, and then a red-haired skull. What's still red? You can see the basic texture of the natural hair is not changed and can be used to determine the race origin. If a Negroid leaves their Wabar hair in braids or twists for a week and then loosens the braid, the texture will appear to be wavy or even a little straighter and altered when in fact it is not. Once ma'e water is applied or moisture from humidity touches the hair, it will revert back and become kinky or to kinky crown your natural or afro again. Example how when I start off with my hair wet, it's much longer. As I'm reading, it's getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Back to an afro every day. And I love it. Okay. Today, they have reversion spray, gels, humectants, etc. All kinds of products to keep the hair temporarily straight until the next wash, or semi-permanent with a perm until new growth, where you put chemicals in your sa'ar hair and go through that straightening process again. This is just the true versatility of natural kamen wabar, black hair. Okay, so here's more images. She made sure her hair was done before she laid down to rest, or somebody did. So I'm gonna look good for years. Look at that. And then this is with the Egyptians, with the hieroglyphs and so forth. We see the statues and so forth. Look at that hair. That's hair. That is hair. Okay? Hair. Yes. Oh, that was Lady Ra, nurse to Nefertiti, and almost Nefertiti, Masas Nafartui, Okay, let's get their names. That's who they were. And that's her nursemaid. And she said, I'm looking good too. During the mummification process, you have natron, baths, that the khatat bodies of the deceased were soaked in for a period of several days, so that would alter the hair texture and in some cases the lawan color, because the keratin in the wabar hair is very strong. Yet when exposed to the substance used during mummification, the protein in the wabar kinky nappy hair undergoes oxidation, which alters the bonds in the cortex of the wabar kinky nappy hair, changing the appearance of the texture of the hair and even straightening the hair texture. Yet the mummies had hair. They were not bald. These are definitely afros. Those are definitely afros. Okay, this is Queen Diop. All anyone has to do today is look under a microscope and measure the thickness of the strands of hair. The hair follicle of an African measured around 60.02 microns. There were 2 samples taken of 26 individuals, different Maqedah Egyptians, including those of pre-dynastic tribes, and the average measurement for their hair was 66.5 microns. Queen Diop also had reddish colored hair. Another feature that raised questions was the lighter or colored hair, also seen in drawings of very negroid looking Maqedah Egyptians. It is true some hair lawan color is altered by the embalming process. The other is by choice, by natural dyeing from plant sources such as henna, used as a natural hair dye today. Okay? And we have some beautiful, beautiful hair. OMG. Beautiful. All right. Oh, and these are twins. Didn't even look at that part. They're models, twin sisters. Cipriana Kwan and TK Kwan, African Americans with long natural hair. And then models of a father and daughter. Look at that. He said, come on, baby girl, let's pose for a picture. Snap my picture. Models, father and daughter, Jackson and Benny Harlem, African American with long natural hair. Many tribes color their hair with a dim red ochre to this day. You had the same in Kadim Wakut at ancient times, as well as shells and bead ornamentations of the Wabar hair as well. Red, such as a red tree, what that word, tree, okay, used on the hair to style and also lawan color it, that African tribes use today. And that's that mud. I've seen videos of them applying that. Yes. the Ethiopian tribal woman, Omo Delta woman, Sheba woman, all use red oak tree for skin and hair. Okay, let's give it a quick another look. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, and we have some hieroglyphics here. Let's find out what this says. This is ancient Nubian Egyptians. Yeah, on the walls of Egypt. There is a misconception about black hair that only Mazwalu, people of all other Salalu races, have hair or long hair, and blacks have no hair or short hair only. As a people, Nagar Dadu Negroids have the most varied skin tones and hair textures and lengths. For instance, the Mazwalatatu women of the Meese, who usually wear their hair short, while the Muzwalu men usually grow their Waba hair longer. Okay, see? Same tribe, different custom, culture. Men having long hair is also shared by the men of the Wadzabi Wudabi as part of a Malat rite or Malat al ritual to attract a mate. He is handsome. Okay, while the Musnanu Sans people of South Africa, their hair grows in tight coils or knots close to the scalp. Okay. Sans people of Africa. You see that Sans people of Africa, they're in Africa, yet the skin is not that dark. Many variations, many skin colors. However, it grows long as well, and as the original people, the African San Bushmen, black men, are the first world people of this macabre planet. Finally, you have the Rapunzels of Africa, whose hair grows long lengths down to the feet of the African Basara woman of Chad, of the Mabalantu of Nubia. They wear Mbuvi's braids. Don't tell me that's where that childhood story came from. Rapunzel, let down your hair. Oof. Okay, the Mbuvi braids worn by women of Chad and Nubia. This is not extended or dead hair shedding and tangled creating dreadlocks. We can't see because it's like kind of with the black and white image, but we'll continue. These women rebraid the hair, applying fat and herbs in their hair, and it grows continually from their youth. They were not all bald, as you can clearly see from the evidence from the above Mizraat pictures. The point being, Nagar-Dadu, Negroid people have always had lots of hair also, and being bald was a choice, not a genetic trait. As the Tatat religion spread, so did their man-made laws. So covering the hair was encouraged also. The wearing of natural hair is a way of self-expression to identify your sha'ab, tribe of people, your marital status, and before departing on the ships, they would even hide seeds in their braided hair. Yet once they came to Meroe, America, the confusion and separation began. They would separate families, prevent them from speaking their own lahag language, and shave their hair, women included, to take away their identity. Okay? This is really, really unique. Hair of the Amasunzu tribe, known for their unique hairstyles. In Louisiana, they had a law that required certain women to keep their hair covered because the men were attracted to these Creole, mulatto, and free women who had not only began to not only style their hair, yet also decorated it with such things as mij-hat jewels and shatat feathers. This caused a Spanish colonial governor named Don Esteban Meroe to enact the Tignon laws, also called Chignon, of 1786 AD, that required Creole women. Oops, did I pass it? That required Creole women, a mixture of West African, Native American, South Asian, and European women to wear a scarf or handkerchief to cover their hair and the styles they created. The Tignon handkerchief. As many Caribbean islands were colonized, some by the French and Spanish, they were also under these Tignon laws. Their lighter skin and elaborate hairstyles challenged the white woman in style and place in society, to the point that this law was put into effect, which required these women to cover their hair and reduce what would make them more attractive, because they were receiving attention and sometimes had affairs with their muzwalu men. So the scarf was a Ramaz symbol to indicate these women who may have even been free with inferior or of the slave class. Eventually, this law was no longer in effect after the United States bought Louisiana. This law was no longer, eventually, this law was no longer in effect after the United States bought Louisiana. Yet, women embraced it and decorated it and made it their own and became elaborate head wrappings, and the stylish church lady hats came from this tignon as well. Yes, church hats. Who's familiar with these? A beautiful, beautiful adornment. Various church hats. And here we go with various scarf wrappings. Very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. These points being made are not being racist, although they are clear examples of racism. Be proud of your black hair. It is a unique trait of the Nadu Salal Negroid race that no other race possesses. Sadly, the struggle with the acceptance of the natural or woolly crown of Nagar Nadu Wabar Negroid hair still continues today, where it is still frowned upon. It is in its natural state and is looked at as inappropriate in certain settings, such as some schools, in the workplace, and in some cases, sports, even when kept neat. Black Texas teen told to cut his dreadlocks to walk at graduation. His mother, Sandy Arnold, said after Christmas break, 3 months before graduation, the Barbers Hills Independent School District changed its dress code as it refers to hair. Now, the rule stipulates hair must be clean and well groomed and not extend on male students at any time below the eyebrows, the earlobes, or the top of a t-shirt collar, including when let down. They say that even though my hair is up and I follow all of the regulations, that if it was down, it would be out of dress code. DeAndre Arnold told KPRC, not that I am out of dress code, but if I was to take it down, I would be out of dress code, which doesn't make any sense. I don't take it down at school. Sandy Arnold said that as a result of the rule change, her son is not allowed in school and can't attend graduation until he complies with the dress code. When asked if she would cut his hair, she responded, absolutely not. This is his belief, she said. This is a part of who he is. This is his culture. This is what we believe. Now, this is an expert from NBCnews.com, January 24, 2020. My son had to cut his hair. Also, in 2020 AD, Kean Hooper, who was the head of her class, was being told not being allowed to graduate because she had red braids, saying initially her braids were the issue to the unnatural Lawan color, which was against school policy. These young people are excelling in Malmad school, yet are being denied the acknowledgement for their Kamal Tatat achievements because of hair or hairstyle. In May of 2022 AD, an 8th grader, a girl named Elsa, wore 4 braids on top of her head and the rest of her hair straight. Wore 4 braids on top of her head and the rest of her hair, straight hair, was worn down. And Catholic St. Paul School in Michigan sent her mother an email with an invitation for her daughter not to return to school, with the reason being her 4 braids violated the dress code. Okie dokie. In April 2021 AD, a boy, Maddox Cozart, 11, who goes to a school in Troy, Texas, and had 2 braids on the top of his hair, and the rest was shaved off, and they suspended him from school. Well, that's a reason to be suspended. Gee whiz. In 2019 AD, they created the Crown Act, creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. Yet, it has not been accepted in all states yet, has Muqradu, children of all ages, genders, and races are being discriminated against because of a preference in hairstyle. Many choose to straighten or continue, which I don't choose to straighten my hair no more, or continue to cover their natural hair with wigs or hair pieces or cut it to be accepted. Wearing wigs was created by Murabu Europeans who were imitating the hair or tarab culture of other people. Originally, the wigs were worn to cover up baldness as a result of Kala disease such as syphilis. Later, it became a fashion statement to wear their natural hair white, such as George Washington. Although wigs were inspired by other cultures' hairstyles, such as the Muqmatu Egyptian head covering and Japanese hairstyles, eventually it was worn by those in certain positions or aristocrats, and now only judges and barristers wear wigs today. The Whig Party of England was created by the aristocracy who wore wigs, white powdered wigs, as a form of status, and was adopted by the courts of England. The influence of wigs being borne by those in the judicial system bled over to African countries that were colonized by them and set up in their government and legal system according to them, and still wear these wigs from that indoctrination today. Okay, so we have these different images. All right, today wigs are worn whether out of necessity for those sufferers of hair loss or those who have lost hair from chemotherapy, and some by choice for fashion or convenience. If you twist or plait manwabar black hair, it will grow. If let alone, it will lock and can become dreadlocks. If you don't cut your wabar hair and take care of your hair, it will grow. Black hair does need moisture, fat, or some type of oil, or it will become brittle and damage and eventually break. We'll find out what that is. Okay, scented cones on the heads, Egyptian and modern day Ethiopian hair. So these would be scented cones. They put scented, they walking around smelling good. Why not? All right. There are other examples. Look at the hats worn by the Russians. Mufvazu guards came from an African tribe, and that is actually their natural hair. The British hats also look similar. Okay. Their actual hair. The hair of other Sabaean races has a texture that has a flank or thinner or finer texture, such as blonde hair, of which there is a lesser need for oil, as it becomes greasy or weighed down easily and needs to be washed frequently. That alone shows a clear difference in race, yet, what happens to the hair of mummies that are Caucasoid? There is no overuse of products in the wabar hair, or it would be very dense, matted, and oily. The hair of these African Egyptian mummies is far from flat or flank, despite the clear use of heavy product, such as animal fat, that African tribes still use today. As I have said many times, no one wins the race in racism. This is not about hatred or prejudice of any race over another. It is factual to say that all Muzwalu people originated from out of Africa, based on the discovery of mitochondrial Eve. There was an experiment. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this in one sitting, because we're halfway through. Okay. There was an experiment where 145 women had kaleat cells taken from their placentas, and all of these Muzwaltat women had the same common DNA, mitochondrial DNA, transferred from Maldatat mother to Sawatat daughters. This mitochondrial DNA, mtDNA, would bring you to East Africa with the conclusion that all current human mitochondrial DNA originated from a single population from Af-Af-Rese Ka'a, Africa, at the same time dated to between 140,000 to 200,000 years ago. The East African countries include Southern Sudan, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Uganda, Kenya, Somalia, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Comoros, Madagascar, and Seychelles. Australopithecus, Afarenus, better known as Lucy. Well, why couldn't they say that in the first place? Lucy was discovered in Malaya, Ethiopia, about 3.8 million years ago. At one point in time, Ethiopia was a part of the Aksum Empire. One of Africa's most famous Mangoshtatu queens was the Mumlashu Ethiopian Mangoshtatu queen of Sheba, Maqedah. The name for Mamlaya, Ethiopia, as found in the Bible, is Cush. Kush in Genesis 10 verses 7, and the sons of Cush, Seba, Hebrew strong number 55434, and Havilah, and Sabta, and Ramah, and Sabtecha, and the sons of Ramah, Sheba, Hebrew strong number 7614, and Dedan. Some scholars try to say there is a difference in the people of Sheba versus those of Seba, like one is Semitic and the other is Hamitic. This does not make sense pertaining to being a different Sal'al race. They are of direct descent, one from the other. If a black father, Cush, has a Damam blood son who has a son, does his race change? No. The Queen of Sheba is the daughter of King Hudad of King Hudad. That's a picture of. Isn't she pretty? Some say Agabos was her father, and her mother was Bashtith or Ishmini. She is our matriarch of our people, Sabaean, Nubian. Mungashtat Maqedah heard about Mungash, King Solomon, and Jerusalem from the merchant Timrin, head of her trading caravans. Tamrin also told the queen of Sheba about this ruler and his hakamdom, wisdom. Being a young queen, she was intrigued after hearing about this ruler who possessed much wisdom and wished to meet him. The African queen from southern Arabia began her journey with a caravan of treasures, spices, and bakhar, incense. And it was said she brought 797 mukmalu, camels, donkeys, and many mules to carry these treasures. The account of when the queen of Sheba went to meet King Solomon is mentioned in the Bible in 2 Chronicles 9, verses 1 through 12, 1 Kings 10, verse 10, and is referred to as the Queen of the South, mentioned in Matthew 12, verse 42, and Luke 11, verse 31. 2 Chronicles 9, verse 9, chapter 2 Chronicles 9, verses 1 through 12. And when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon, she came to prove Solomon with his hard questions at Jerusalem with a very great company, and camels that bear spices, and gold in abundance, and precious stones. And when she came, and when she was come to Solomon, she communed with him of all that was in her heart, and Solomon told her all her questions, and there was nothing hid from Solomon which he told her not. And when the queen of Sheba had seen the wisdom of Solomon, and the house that he had built, and the meat of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, his cupbearers also, and their apparel, and his ascent by which he went up into the house of the Lord, there was no more spirit in her. They say she fainted. And she said to the king, it was a true report which I heard in mine own land of thine acts and of thine wisdom. Howbeit I believed not their words until I came, and mine eyes had seen it. And behold, the one half of the greatness of thy wisdom was not told me, for thou exceeded the fame that I heard. Happy are thy men, and happy are these thy servants, which stand continuously before thee, and hear thy wisdom. Blessed be the Lord thy God, which delighted in thee to set thee on his throne to be king for the Lord thy God, because thy God loved Israel, to establish them forever. Therefore made he thee king over them, to do judgment and justice. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold, and of spices great abundance, and precious stones. Neither was there any such spice as the queen of Sheba gave King Solomon. And the servants of Huram and the servants of Solomon, which brought gold from Ophir, brought algum trees and precious stones. And the king made of the algum trees terraces to the house of the Lord, and to the king's palace, and harps and psalteries for singers. And there were none such seen before in the land of Judah. And King Solomon gave to the queen of Sheba all her desire whatsoever she asked, besides that which she had brought unto the king. So she turned and went away to her own land, she and her servants. And that was from the King James Version, 1611 AD. And Matthew 12, verse 42, the queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment with his generation, and shall condemn it. For she came from the uttermost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And behold, a greater than Solomon is here. And this came from King James Version, 1611. She is also mentioned in the Quran, chapter 27, verses 22 through 44, yet not called by Ranan name. In Quran 27, verse 22, but he, i.e. the Hupo, stayed not long and said, I have encompassed in knowledge that which you have not encompassed, and I have come to you from Sheba with certain news. Indeed, I found there a woman ruling them, and she has been given of all things, and she has a great throne. And that was translated by Sahih International in 2010 AD. Okay, I'm going to pause right here and see if okay, I decided to, I was going to take a break, but I decided just to stop right here, and when we pick up again, we'll be at verse 191. And this has been the Actual Facts, series number 3, Ham's Seed, okay? Thank you for listening to me read. Thank you for excusing any mispronunciations and accepting the fact that I am sharing knowledge with you so that we can all learn and grow together. For we have all been lied to, and we all deserve truth. Truth is what I have asked for, and truth is what I have now received. Therefore, I am reading it. At the same time, when I read this, it is my first time. I didn't read it first and then decide to read it. No, this is my first time, and I'm reading it with you. So it's for my benefit as well as yours. Thank you once again. Please take the time to subscribe, like, share, put that thumbs up, hype it up. Whatever you do, make sure you have the most benevolent day.